I am a dog trainer, but all the classes that I give in real life or online through YouTube, or advice that I give, or even behavioral therapy that I do, I all do for free. So I do have a regular non-dog related job, and that job is sending me out for 2 weeks. So I need something that's quick and easy to make, not a lot of editing, since I don't have a lot of time before I leave, and I'm going to be needing stuff for the next 2 weeks. So what better way than to answer some more Reddit questions. I went on r/dogs, filtered by behavioral problems, sorted by new, and I responded to some questions. Not all of these are very recent, since I do regularly go to that subreddit to answer questions. I picked a bit of a variety of topics, so hopefully something will be useful to you as well. So let's begin. The first question I actually responded to 2 months ago. The user deleted the original question, so I only have the title. My 6-month-old Labrador is behaving aggressive. I do remember this one a little bit. He was talking about how his puppy was being aggressive and biting while playing. Now, looking at my response that I made at the time, I clearly believe that it was not aggressive behavior but puppy teething. About 86% of pups will start teething. Teething means that they will bite you. They will bite your hand, they will bite your ankles, they will bite anything they see. But it's not really in an aggressive way. Their teeth are changing, that's itchy, so it's just very enjoyable for them to grab something. So, what do you do in this situation? Well, first of all, a mistake that a lot of people make is that people will allow it to some extent. Like, your puppy will start biting your hand, but it doesn't really hurt that much, it's pretty soft, so you allow it until it gets too hard. The thing about dogs is they think very black and white. And a lot of behavioral issues stem from things that we have allowed in the past, when it was still cute or manageable. Same with puppy teething. Biting is not allowed. The moment your dog bites, you stop doing whatever you were doing. Let's say you were playing. The moment my puppy bites me, I just quit abruptly. This is called a negative punishment. We are punishing the dog by taking something that he likes away, in this case playtime. If this behavior persists, you can also just put him in timeout. The moment your dog bites, you just pick him up, put him in the bathroom. 20 to 30 seconds, and then you release him again. It's also important to not just punish the dog, but also teach him what he can bite on. So buy a chew, buy like a wooden stick like this coffee wood. That's very durable and they like biting on. And the moment you see that your dog wants to bite, you put your hand away, you give him the stick. If your dog has already bitten you, you're too late. Then you need to abruptly stop, give him the negative punishment. Because if he does bite you and then you give him the stick, then you have just rewarded the biting. Luckily, most of this goes away by itself, especially once all the teeth are changed. This puppy teething is very normal, it's very natural, and it's annoying. It's very painful, or it can be very painful, but most of the time it's something that goes away naturally. That doesn't mean that you should just ignore it, and there are things that you can do to help it. Next up, nervous dog, also from 2 months ago, so probably around the time when I made the previous video, the previous Reddit reaction. My 14-week golden retriever puppy is scared of strangers. I'm trying to expose her to as many as possible from a distance she's comfortable with. But is there anything I can do in training at home that could help too? I do remember this one because when I responded to this, I did ask like, hey, can you maybe send me a video or something? Feel free to DM me if you have any future questions, which I always do. And actually, he did not send me a video, I think, but we did have a lovely conversation. So what he's doing is great. This is what we call systemic desensitization. So he is approaching the trigger, but from a comfortable distance and just letting the dog observe. One thing that I said that could even be better is to do something with your dog. Like play. Just play with your dog, do whatever. Don't just give treats, because that again then your dog might link treats to seeing strangers, which might make your dog reactive and want to approach strangers, which we do not want. So just play continuously while strangers are passing by at a comfortable distance. This way your dog is still aware of the strangers, but he's not really forced to acknowledge them. You know, if you're just sitting at a bench with your dog is still kind of forced to actually pay attention to all of them, while you want your dog to be able to ignore them. So just pick up a toy, play with your dog from a distance, and get closer every day or every week or every couple of days. Another common mistake I see people make when doing systemic desensitization is they will start too close. People will go to the trigger, so in this case strangers, until they see their dog is getting uncomfortable, and that's their starting point. But actually you should start before your dog gets uncomfortable. Even way before. Let's say my dog shows the very first stress signals at 5 meters. So not just visibly uncomfortable, but just the first things, yawning, lip licking, looking away. If that's at 5 meters from strangers, I will start at 7 meters. Just play with my dog. Next day, 6.5 meters. Next day, 6. And so on. Once you're very close to strangers, you could take it one step further and ask a stranger, or at least someone that's a stranger to your dog, to play with your dog. If you do that, you do risk, again, your dog associating strangers with playtime and wanting to go to strangers. That's something you need to keep in mind. There's no correct answer to that. It's not something that I would say that you need to prevent and definitely do not do, but it is a risk. And if you notice that your dog is developing that, then maybe just stop doing that. It's fine if your dog wants to play with strangers. It's fine if you want to get a very social dog that just allows all of that. But obviously if your dog starts to become reactive and pull you towards strangers, that's a step too far. Number 3 of today. How do I teach my dog to be more gentle when given a treat? He is inconsistent. Well, there's a couple of things you can do. So I have a bunch of treats here and I have Eowyn right next to me. So let's say Eowyn is a bit too aggressive at taking treats. What I could do is I could just place the treat in my hand. This obviously depends on how fast your dog is. Place the treat in my hand, and when she tries to grab it, obviously she's trained, I will just close my hand. Until she's very gentle. Obviously she's very confused right now because she already was gentle. Okay. Another thing you could do is to just put it in between your fingers, and then you only stick out a little bit of the treat from between your fingers, so your dog is forced to be more accurate. When I say a little bit between your fingers, I do not mean between your thumb and your index finger, because then you risk getting bitten in your fingers. No, you make a fist, put the treat in between your index and your middle finger, it sticks out a little bit, then give it to your dog, and she's forced to basically lick it and slowly take it, put it away. What I would recommend when doing this is that you also give it a command. So you just teach your dog the calm command. Like for example, if I would give Eowyn a treat, I just say okay, it's already over. But if I say Eowyn, voorzichtig, she's a lot more gentle. Again, I'm holding the treat in the same way. Okay, see how fast that was? But if I say Eowyn, Eowyn, voorzichtig, she's a lot slower. Good call. Next question, when I have my phone back. Here it is. How can I make my Pomeranian not to bark whenever the door rings or someone gets in? I have a male 5-year-old Pom, and whenever someone rings the door or gets inside the house, he barks uncontrollably for about 5 minutes. Also, he's anxious/afraid of new people approaching him, whether to say hi or pet. This is a bit of a difficult one, just because there's not a lot of information. It's a 5-year-old Pom, meaning that if that behavior has been present for 5 years, that behavior will be very ingrained and will be very difficult to remove completely. Another difficult thing is that in therapy, whenever you have an issue with your dog and your dog needs to be in therapy, you need to avoid your dog making a mistake. So in this case of the doorbell, the moment my doorbell rings, my dog starts barking uncontrollably. I start training this, let's say systemic desensitization. I play the doorbell at a very low sound and then increase over time. The moment someone rings my doorbell for real and my dog starts barking again, I can redo everything. I can basically restart the process. So one thing that you need to do when you're talking about a dog reacting to a doorbell is change the doorbell. You get a new doorbell sound. You do not install it immediately. You just lay it at home and you play it at a low volume. Or you find the sound effect on YouTube and play that at a low volume to make sure your dog does not react. Again, low volume, increase over time. Every day a little bit louder until you can play it at max volume and your dog does not react. Only then do you install the new doorbell, because at that point he's already desensitized to the sound. What you could even do is every time you play it, even during training when you're playing at a very low volume, give your dog a treat every time. So the moment you press it, you give your dog a treat. Almost like a clicker. This is classical reconditioning. You're classically conditioning something new to an already existing behavior. So instead of the dog barking at the doorbell, you want your dog to become excited and come to you for a treat when the doorbell rings. That's one part of the puzzle. The other part is the dog being fearful or anxious when strangers are approaching. And this is something that I honestly cannot give a solid answer to. I cannot just give a general answer for what to do in this situation, just because there's a big lack of information here. That's one of the problems with a lot of dog related things on YouTube, especially when you're looking for fixes to solutions, is that you do not just fix an issue, you need to find the underlying cause of an issue. And that underlying cause could be anything. Even if I completely believe that it's fear or anxiety, there's still the question of what has caused that fear or anxiety. Is it a trauma? Is it just a lack of socialization? Is it in the imprinting phase, where the dog just never met strangers? Is it to a specific type of person? Is it only to men, or only to women, or only to black people, or only to people wearing a hat, or only to people with glasses? Is it only to people approaching the dog directly, or does the dog also mind when other people are generally close? A lot of these things are very important and will actually change how you will treat it. So because of that, I cannot give an answer and be completely honest at the same time. Anyone that gives a straight answer in cases like this is either bullshitting or simply doesn't know enough. And last up, my golden retriever puppy won't stop breaking in his crate. It won't stop. I'll take him out and take him to potty, but as soon as he is back in the crate so I can sleep, he starts barking and scratching his body. Is there something more going on, or does he just not like the crate? So here's the thing. It is a puppy that is reacting negatively to a crate. This makes me believe that the crate simply has not been taught correctly to the dog. You cannot just buy a crate, put your dog in it and expect things to be okay. What a crate actually is a safe space. A safe space is something that every dog needs. It's a place in your house where if the dog goes, the dog knows that he will be left alone. I have a crate myself. If Eowyn is in the crate, nobody comes near her. If I am clipping her nails, which she doesn't like, I know after 2-3 nails she will whine and run to her crate. I will not get her out of her crate. The moment she enters her crate is the moment everyone leaves her alone. Same goes for visits, same goes for other dogs, same goes for children. Nobody gets near her crate, and she knows that. If she's uncomfortable, she goes to her crate and she knows she will be left alone in there. A crate is very useful as a safe space, because a crate only has one exit or entrance, usually. And if your crate has multiple, I would recommend closing all of them except one. And it generally also has a bit of lower roof. This mimics a wolf's den, which dogs instinctively like. A wolf's den is a place you just go to and you don't need to look all around. There's only one exit that you need to guard. You're safe from above, you're safe from behind. And so that's why it's almost instinctive for dogs to like crates. That does not mean that you don't need to teach that the crate is the safe space. that's why it also would help to put a blanket on top of the crate. So how do you teach a crate? That's the real question here, I think. So when you get a new puppy and you want to teach the crate, you need to associate the crate with something positive. There's a couple of things that make this very easy. First of all, in the beginning when you first get your new puppy, the crate is the feeding place. Every time you feed your dog, it happens in the crate. If you want to give your dog a treat or a chew stick, you first ask the dog to go in the crate and only give it there. It doesn't matter if your dog runs out immediately after accepting the treat, it still builds that positive connection between the crate and getting the treat. The other thing that's also really helpful, but also incredibly annoying, especially at the start, is to make sure your dog sleeps in the crate. This means that when you get a puppy and your puppy falls asleep on the floor or on the couch or whatever, you pick up your dog and put him in the crate, which will obviously wake up your puppy. And he will most likely stand up and run out again and sleep somewhere else, at which point you need to repeat this. Eventually your dog will give up and just start sleeping in the crate. Obviously make sure that you have a comfortable dog bed and maybe some toys in the crate as well. But this is going to take some time and a lot of patience, especially at the start. But what better feeling is there than waking up refreshed and having that feeling linked to the crate? The next thing is that if you want your dog to sleep in the crate overnight, to, especially as a puppy, put the crate in your bedroom and let the dog sleep right next to you, but in the crate. And then every night you just move the crate a little bit closer to the door, until eventually the dog is in the hallway, and even later at the place you originally want the dog to be. I hope that answered some questions that you had. If you have any more, please let me know. Thank you so much for watching. As always, please subscribe to not miss anything in the future, and I hope to see you next time. Bye bye.